Hey guys, in today's video, we're going to talk about how to hit your irons more solid with these shoulder feels. I want to go through backswing shoulder movements, how they relate to different flaws in your swing that you may not have been able to fix. And I also want to talk downswing shoulder movements so you guys can pure your irons. All right guys, so let's talk about the shoulder motion. Now, we're gonna kind of separate this into two different parts. One is gonna be, and what I really wanna talk to you guys about is how the shoulders work during the backswing and how that relates to different swing flaws or things in your swing you might not be able to fix. Something I wish I'd have known a long time ago. And then I also wanna talk a little bit about two different downswing shoulder feels that I personally use to create different ball patterns and adjust my solidness of contact. So let's talk about the shoulders during the backswing here. The main point of what I want to get across here is how your shoulders tilt during the backswing affects how your takeaway and backswing are going to look. And sort of all else equal, the point here is this. If I make a normal backswing plane, right, my shoulders are going to have some tilt to them. That is, my left shoulder will be lower than my right shoulder. Some people talk about the shoulders turning 90 degrees to my spine as a normal checkpoint. That's perfectly fine. People have different amounts of shoulder tilt, which realistically comes from, and what that is just left side bend. That's not the point of this video, but left side bend is what's happening as my shoulders tilt. So let's just assume there's gonna be some tilt of the shoulders. How much and how does it affect things? If you make a backswing and you turn really flat like this, that is, your left shoulder is either even with your right shoulder or very low or slightly lower. And I see this sort of shoulder turn all the time when I'm doing in-person online lessons with typically higher level handicap players, very flat shoulder turn. When I make a backswing with a flat shoulder turn, it presets some backswing motions. In particular, when I turn back really flat, it presets my arms and hands working away from my body. And with my arms and hands working away from my body, as you can see here, it presets a good amount of forearm roll, which gets the club head inside. Some of you guys are gonna watch this video and you'll have a takeaway pattern where your hands go out and the club goes in, and you'll see the other videos we do about fixing that, and you're gonna have a hard time fixing it with just the hands because the shoulders are a part of it too. The flatter your shoulder turn is, the higher your left shoulder is like this, the more you go this way, the more my arms and hands wanna go which way? Out, this way and away from me. The more my arms and hands want to go out and away from me with a flat turn, the more the club wants to roll inside. Those things just go together. And then the opposite is true. If I make a backswing and I had a lot of tilt, so I come from more of a flat shoulder turn backswing, guess what I had my whole life? My hands went out, my club head rolled in, right? I had that right off the bat. My shoulders are very flat, and then I slide too much. It all started from I just didn't know, okay, when I was growing up, that's what happened. I do now. The opposite is true. If I make a backswing and my left shoulder goes lower when I go back, so there's more tilt there when I go this way, it's a lot easier now for me to have my hand work more in. I would almost have to exaggerate from there. If my shoulders goes down, I'd have to kind of work to get my arm go more out. And what goes with my hand path working more in is less forearm rotation. If I make a backswing and I tilt my left shoulder down more, it's easier for me to get my hands more in, and it's also easier for me to not have as much forearm rotation. So what does that all mean? Well, if you're someone who has a takeaway and backswing where your hands go out and this rolls, you need to start checking your shoulder turn. And I bet when you go up to the top, you're way too flat at the top. And if you're gonna try and adjust the backswing, hands more in, less forearm rotation, having your left shoulder work more down, okay, adding side bend here, a little bit of a crunch, as you turn will help you do that. When you go back and you have too much forearm rotation, or hands go out, club rolls, this back of your left hand will be pointed too far towards the sky, your elbow will be pointed too far outside of the ball, and the face will be open. When you get your left shoulder more down when you go back, you'll notice the opposite things of that. They get the shaft more vertical. Back of my left hand is more pointed this way, elbow's more pointed down towards the ground, my shoulder's lower. It's a lot easier for me to make that motion compared to this way. So shoulder steeper, left shoulder more down will help fix that pattern. Now, if you're someone who comes in and your hands get too far in and your club gets too far outside, which like, that might be 1 out of 100,000 people, maybe. So probably 0 people watching this have a problem of your left shoulder going too far down, hands working too far in, club bit too far outside. But if you are that 1 out of 100,000, then you would want to level out your shoulder turn. Probably not. That's the point of the backswing stuff, okay? That could be this whole video in and of itself is that. That is valuable information. I didn't know that for a long time, and I'm trying to fix my takeaway, and the whole time my shoulder tilt had a whole hell of a lot to do with it. We didn't talk about this as much in our takeaway videos because I wanted you specifically looking at those pieces. You can reverse engineer them, but a lot of the root cause is how you do your shoulders. Now, some of you guys, when you're going to practice this, when you get your left shoulder working more down towards the ground, you still have to turn, okay? So I see a lot of people trying to do this and they just go here. I don't want that. You still have to turn as you go up to the top. So left shoulder more down. Now, part number 2, which could be a separate video in and of itself, but we decided to put this together, is how your shoulders work during the downswing per ball pattern. I referenced in our other video, and we're doing this just after the PGA Championship, when Tiger played and he couldn't hit a fairway, but he was hitting greens. He hit 2 shots I saw with his irons, and I always used to watch him when he was in his prime. When he would hit a draw versus a fade, I used to always notice a big difference in his shoulder tilt. And what I mean is, and once I say this, you'll realize, yeah, he does do that. He hit one this weekend where he had to hit like a rope 7-iron draw, and when he comes through, his right shoulder always would be really high. I used to always watch him. I never really saw the people do that. His right shoulder would be really high into his follow through when he hit his draw. And I started playing around with that, and lo and behold, that works great for me. Every time I make my right shoulder really high, it's easy for me to hit a draw. And then me, being the smart guy that I am, thought, well, what if my right shoulder works really high to hit a draw? What if my right shoulder works really low? Will that help me hit a fade? And it did help me hit a fade. So when I go play, and something I coach into people when we're working ball patterns, is the way your right shoulder works during the downswing can have a big impact on your ball pattern. A higher right shoulder in your follow through will help the ball curve right to left. A lower right shoulder during your downswing follow through will help the ball curve from left to right. So I'm gonna just demonstrate one of those. I'm not gonna do any demonstrations on here. I mean, we'll put some in, but in terms of the shoulder tilts, I want that to be general info. But in terms of the shoulder on the way through, my draw pattern, again, is gonna be that right shoulder feeling like I'm going really high with my right shoulder. Obviously, when I'm hitting the draw, I'm feeling the club exiting right and vertical as well, but I'm really feeling the shoulder being really, really high. I'm sort of imagining I'm Tiger, minus the bankroll and other things, but high right shoulder here for the draw. And that ball curved nicely, probably even more than my normal. That's probably like a 10 or 15 yard draw. The point for me is when I have my shoulder high, it draws every time. So when I'm on the course and I need a predictable ball pattern, or even if I'm on the course and I'm off that day, I just need to hit a shot, I know I can really throw my right shoulder high and the ball's gonna curve right to left. It might curve more or less than I want, but it's predictable in that it's curving right to left. We're gonna do that again, high right shoulder. And there's my draw pattern. That one didn't curve quite as much as the first one, but still a draw. It's predictable, I know what's gonna happen. And then like I said, the opposite is true. When I come down, I wanna hit a fade. For me, the more I feel like my right shoulder goes down, I have more right side bend as I open, the easier it is for me to hit the fade pattern. I'll go ahead and demonstrate one of those. So same sort of target line, right shoulder more down as I come through. And there was my fade one. That was a little bit thin, not my best contact, but the ball curved left to right. And I'll do one more. So right shoulder lower for my fade pattern. Good. And so those are the feels I use. Now for me, the fade one's harder because I'm a natural draw of the ball, but it does help me when I put my fade pattern in to do that, and something I want you to just play around with. That's something, and a lot of this stuff is meant for you to just experiment when you go play. Sometimes we're gonna do things with specific drills, with feedback. This isn't one of them. This is something like, hey, you're on the range, play around with your right shoulder finishing really high. Maybe that could be a 3/4 iron, go-to, sort of hit the middle of the green shot. Or hey, I know it's gonna hook every time. Play around with your right shoulder going lower. That can be a go-to fade pattern. Just see what happens. You need to know where the ball's going. So again, probably more important of the two is the backswing piece. If you have backswing issues, you have to look at those shoulder tilts. If you're more towards flat, you have to steepen it. How do you steepen it? There's a million drills. Just make your left shoulder go lower. Can you put something across your shoulders and do all that? Sure you can. There's a ton of drills you can find. Just start working the opposite of it, and then mess around with the shoulder tilts during the downswing pieces. Those backswing pieces with your shoulders is super important. Hope that all makes sense. Obviously, if you guys have any questions, as always, leave me a comment down below. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. If you guys like this video, please do me a favor and click the like button down below. Click the notification bell if you haven't already, and please subscribe if you haven't. Thank you.